Hello. Well, I thought I'd just knock off the second part here of my memories of my work, my involvement with Trungpa Rinpoche. I left it at when in New York, when the Karmapa came, that I had told Rinpoche I was going to move to Vermont. And before that, I had a couple of, I remember a couple of things from Tila Tiger that I thought might be interesting. One was that I actually met Tom Rich, who was later to be the regent. Very superficially met him, but I remember I got my Indian impression from him. He had a very good Indian accent impression. His name was Narayana, given by a previous teacher, and that's what they called him then when I met him. I also actually met Lila Rich, who's his wife, Lady Rich now, and you know, I didn't know then the connection. I met Lila separately. She was this, you know, short, red-headed, cutest little young woman, and she had a son named Vajra, which actually was Tom Rich's son too. And I just the cutest little, maybe 5-6-year-old blonde, little helmet hair. And I actually babysat for him a couple of times. I was interested in play therapy, so I had no problem spending you know, time with a little guy. And I think at another time he might have been mad at me for my inconsistent availability, like children should be. I don't know how he survived in that environment. Just so many people coming and going, and sort of somewhat chaotic for a child, I think. But I don't know. I don't know how they're doing now. He must be. He's like 30 something now, or 40. So can you imagine how time goes? So in any case, I did meet the regent there, and when I moved to Boulder, I remember, you know, entering the community, and he's just nodding to me, and that's what we call nodding acquaintance. Is what about what we were, because I never really had a friendship or anything. In any case, coming to Boulder, you know, from the warmth and closeness of the DC Dharmadhatu, was quite a shock. At that time, 76 and something, you know, right after the Karmapa's visit. I think Karmapa's visit was a turning point. Before that, again, Rinpoche had tolerated what I liked, actually, the hippie kind of loose atmosphere, the casual to sloppy dress. And at that point, with the Karmapa's visit, I think Rinpoche brought the community along to a different level. People, you know, wearing suits and ties and straightening out, you know, that kind of thing. You know, at the beginning, he had, I think he was looking for a model, and he finally, you know, settled in a royal court model from his experiences in England, which I think it's not appropriate for the United States of America. In any case, it makes it a separate society. But before that, he had a business model, actually. And I remember going to Vajradhatu, 14th and Pearl there, and no, 14th and Spruce, I think, in Boulder. But in any case, you know, all the doors had glass and they had names on it, just like a bank. And here I go and I meet with, you know, a friend of mine, Tom Garnett, who had come to DC several times to run these, you know, what we call basic meditation seminars, and had stayed at my house. And here Tom meets me, you know, completely formally, sitting on a cushion over there with a three-piece suit, and we're talking, and I'm thinking, like, Jesus, you know, if I want people with their names and their doors, I can go to my local bank. I don't need to come to Vajradhatu. So I was just kind of like not turned on by that formality. And then, you know, it's just the atmosphere felt stiff and somewhat arrogant to me, unfortunately. And then at that time, I believe Rinpoche went into a retreat, a one-year retreat. So it's kind of like the absent king syndrome, that I felt like, boy, if Rinpoche knew what's going on, when he comes back, he's going to kick some ass. And, you know, the American colonists thought if King George knew what was going on, he would kick some ass. And it turns out it was King George. And looking back, it was Rinpoche that was, of course, you know, creating all these structures. See, I had a meditation instructor, didn't really add anything to my practice. All he would say is, you know, go back and sit some more. And there was a point there where I really felt like all the people at Dharmadhatu would do is say, go back and sit some more. I attended a class. That was the most personal contact I had with the community. I had no real warm personal contact. Like I said, Tom met me in a totally business manner, so I didn't get together with him. The class was, I think, Patterns of Ego, based on that little book of Rinpoche, an early version, not the commercial version that's published now. And, it was an okay class. I remember challenging, as I mentioned before, I'm somewhat rudely challenging the instructor, and the instructor couldn't handle it, would get uptight a couple of times. And, I guess that's how I've tested people in the past. I don't believe in that anymore. I mean, we have a vow as a bodhisattva against harsh speech. So I don't believe in that anymore, but at that time I was not pleased again with people didn't pass my tests, I guess. Sounds a little arrogant on my part too, but it just didn't feel great. Then also there was that Operation Dharmadatta at that time started. We had to sit like every weekend or every other weekend, 8 hours a day. And there was a book you sign in your hours, and my wife would just not be happy with my, being gone all that long in the weekend, so it was a little strained. And, the idea of signing in a book and then having my instructor tell me, hey, you're not sitting enough, you need to sit more, I just felt like they were breathing down my neck there. But there was never any repercussions, so it was my paranoia partly. And then they bought a lot of land. I think Rinpoche was very forward-seeing. Bought a lot of land and spent a lot of money receiving the karmapa. Well, let me mention before that too. There were a couple classes on the Buddha families that were great, very instructive. Had a psychological angle to it, connected with space therapy. I also did a week-long retreat on space therapy, and there were different rooms with different postures. Me and my wife went to a class with Ed Powell and Martin Casper on space therapy. I think it was Pablo and Casper, maybe just Pablo, but anyway, one psychiatrist and psychologist. But I was saying, they bought a lot of land and spent a lot of money without having it, and I did not feel good about that. It kind of reminded me of the Catholic Church in some ways. So here they are now calling people desperately, we need money, we're going to go under, we're going to lose the land. And I get a call. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. I get a call from this guy. And he says to me if I could donate $500. Well, I was just getting started in my career. Just bought a home. $500 in 1977. That's a lot of money. So I told him, I said, you know what, I don't even... Oh, he says to me, oh, that's only the price of a color TV. I said to him, you know what, dude? I didn't say dude, but you know what, I don't own a color TV. And I didn't at that time, So we parted friendlily on the phone, but I was just very disappointed with that approach. And between that and reports of Trungpa Rinpoche's sending people to pick up people's wives in the middle of the night so he could have sex with them, things like that, I just didn't know what to think. But I decided he was not my teacher anymore. So I sent him... I used to have a statue of Vajrasattva. I sent him that in a mala I owned, and with a note saying goodbye. And it was very depressing. I was depressed. It really depressed me. I mean, I had moved to Colorado. I lived in the suburbs to be close to this group, and now I found this group was not working for me. So, about a year of depression. And then actually after that, 7 years I did not practice. I did not consider myself a Buddhist for a number of years. 7 years. Until later. And that's another chapter. I was a Unitarian, 7 years into it, I was a Unitarian for about a year. And that, since Unitarians are always exploring what they believe, that led me to realize that my Buddhist beliefs were there all along, and it seemed to me extremely illogical to have my Buddhist beliefs and to not practice them. So I say bye-bye to the Unitarian Church. Helpful. That's a period of transition. My mother had died that year, and I started working with the Nyingma Meditation Center in Boulder, the Tibetan Nyingma Meditation Center, whose head is Tarthang Tulku. And that was a very fruitful period. I would work with them for another 7 years or so, but I will say more about that the next time. So until then, Tashi Delek, and we'll go to the next thing. Bye-bye.